We're gonna watch this video now. Another reaction, just because I am not done with my food yet. So, extra reaction video for today, guys. I actually do recognize some of these guys. Him, obviously, Charles. He looks familiar. Applewhite sounds familiar. I know him. He's a sick, twisted motherfucker. But alright. Let's get into this video. I really like this guy's channel. So I'm gonna sub.
In the history of modern cults, no name is more infamous than Jim Jones. As the charismatic founder of the People's Temple, he presented himself as a progressive preacher dedicated to racial equality and social justice in 1970s America. Jones built a devoted following, offering a sense of community to thousands who felt disenfranchised by society. Behind the scenes, however, he demanded absolute loyalty, subjecting his followers to financial exploitation, public humiliation, and intense psychological control. Seeking to create a socialist utopia far from outside influence, Jones moved over 900 of his followers to a remote settlement in Guyana, which he named Jonestown.
For those who watched me play Outlast 2, you can't tell me this don't sound like the leader of the cult in Outlast 2. It literally sounds exactly like him. Real shit. I wonder if he was based off Jim Jones.
There, his paranoia and control escalated, trapping his congregation in the jungle. In November 1978, U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown to investigate claims of abuse. As Ryan attempted to leave with a group of defectors, Jones's security forces opened fire on the airstrip, killing the congressman and 4 others. Realizing there was no way out, Jones began what he called a white night. Under his direction, followers were persuaded to take part in a deadly ritual that would soon claim hundreds of lives. The aftermath was a scene of unimaginable horror. When Guyanese authorities arrived, they discovered the bodies of over 900 people, including more than 300 children lying dead throughout the settlement in a final, horrific act of loyalty. Jim Jones was found dead among his followers after taking his own life, marking the grim conclusion of his deadly movement. For decades, the Jonestown tragedy remained the deadliest intentional loss of American civilian life, surpassed only years later by the tragic events of 9/11. The legacy of Jim Jones is a chilling testament to the power of charismatic manipulation. The phrase "drinking the Kool-Aid" became a permanent part of the cultural lexicon, forever symbolizing the danger of blind, unquestioning faith in a single leader.
Too bad
Charles
people
Manson
still
was
do
not a
that
typical
to this
group
day.
leader who promised
They drink the
salvation,
Kool-Aid of all
but
the
a failed musician
politicians.
and career criminal who embodied chaos. He gathered a group of disillusioned young people in the late 1960s, forming a commune known as the Manson family. Living at the dilapidated Spahn Ranch, Manson controlled his followers through charisma, psychological manipulation, and the use of mind-altering substances. He preached a bizarre apocalyptic prophecy called Helter Skelter, based on his interpretation of a Beatles song. Manson believed a widespread, racially motivated conflict was imminent, an event he sought to incite. He told his followers they would survive this outcome by hiding in a secret underground location, from which they would emerge to take control. On the night of August 8, 1969, Manson ordered a group of his most devoted followers to carry out a series of violent attacks. They went to the home of actress Sharon Tate, where they took the lives of her and 4 other people. The nature of the events was both heinous and highly symbolic. The following night, the group ended the lives of wealthy couple Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, leaving messages at the scene in an attempt to misdirect blame onto activist groups. The event sent a wave of fear and paranoia through Los Angeles. The investigation eventually led police to Spahn Ranch. The subsequent trial...
Real quick note. Charles Manson was a result of MK Ultra. So another thing that our government has caused that killed tons of people. Harmed tons of people. Man, maybe you should have left the crazy musician guy alone. But instead, They pumped him with LSD and fucking used him for an experiment. And he turned into this. So, yeah. Good one, CIA.
Was a media spectacle, with Manson and his followers displaying symbols on their foreheads and disrupting proceedings, with bizarre outbursts and displays of loyalty. Manson was convicted for first-degree conspiracy and for orchestrating the events, despite not physically committing the acts himself. He received a death sentence, which was later commuted to a life term after California changed its laws. Charles Manson died in prison in 2017, having become a cultural symbol of chaos and manipulation. He remains a haunting example of how a charismatic figure can twist impressionable minds into carrying out his dark vision, forever shattering the peace and love image of the 1960s. Vernon Howell, who later renamed himself David Koresh, was a musician who rose to become the prophetic leader of the Branch Davidians. This was an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, centered at a compound near Waco, Texas. Koresh claimed to be the final prophet.
Okay, I do know this guy. I know Waco. Also, it's always the musicians, man. Musicians or pastors. Yeah, musicians, pastors, politicians. Those are always the people who lead cults. It's crazy.
Prophet, with the unique ability to unlock the meaning of the 7 seals from the Book of Revelation. He taught his followers that a major global event was imminent and that they needed to prepare for a final, intense confrontation with outside forces, which he called Babylon. Under his leadership, the group began acquiring a large collection of regulated firearms and other materials. Koresh also practiced spiritual wedlock, taking multiple partners, including underage individuals, asserting it was his divine right as a messenger. In February 1993, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF, attempted to serve a search warrant at the compound related to these items. The attempt to serve the warrant was met with an exchange of gunfire, which resulted in the loss of 4 federal agents and 6 Branch Davidians. The initial event devolved into a tense 51-day standoff led by the FBI. The situation received live media coverage worldwide, as negotiators tried to arrange a peaceful resolution while Koresh delivered his sermons to the agents outside. The standoff reached its tragic climax on April 19th, when the FBI launched a final tear gas assault to end the situation. A fire then broke out and quickly consumed the compound, leading to the passing of 76 Branch Davidians, including 25 children. The aftermath sparked a significant public debate and controversy over the government's handling of the incident. Critics accused the FBI of using excessive force, while the government maintained that Koresh and his followers started the fire themselves. David Koresh's legacy is a complex and tragic one. He was a charismatic leader who led his followers to a devastating end, becoming a symbolic figure for certain anti-government movements and a representation of a prophecy.
I'm not pro-government, but you just wanted to let this guy have his compound where he was fucking on minors and having a bunch of fucking crazies armed with guns. You don't think that was a problem? Or would it turned into a problem? Because, oh, I'm the Messiah, so I get to fuck on children. Yeah, logic don't make sense there.
That had a tragic and conclusive outcome. In the early days of the internet, a new kind of prophecy emerged, led by a former music professor named Marshall Applewhite. Together with his...
Bro, we just got 3 musicians in a row, gang.
Partner Bonnie Nettles, he founded what would eventually become known as Heaven's Gate. Applewhite taught a unique and bizarre theology that blended Christian apocalypticism with UFO mythology. He believed that he and his followers were extraterrestrial beings who had taken over human bodies, and that Earth was about to be recycled. Their only chance of survival, he claimed, was to...
Their website is still up to this day. You can go on it and look at it.
Shed their human vehicles and ascend to the next level. He preached that a spaceship was traveling in the tail of the Hale-Bopp comet, which was passing by Earth in 1997 and was coming to collect their souls. The group lived a highly controlled ascetic lifestyle in a large mansion near San Diego. They were androgynous, celibate, and adhered to a strict set of rules, believing that detaching from all human desires was necessary for their ascension. In March 1997, as the comet reached its brightest point, Applewhite and 38 of his followers put their plan into action. They consumed a lethal mixture of sedatives mixed with applesauce, and then placed plastic bags over their heads. The aftermath was a surreal and shocking discovery. Police found the members lying peacefully in their bunk beds, dressed in identical black tracksuits, brand new Nike sneakers, and covered with purple shrouds. They all had arm patches that read, "Heaven's Gate Away Team." The group had meticulously documented their final days, leaving behind farewell tapes, where they calmly and cheerfully explained their beliefs, and their excitement about leaving their human forms behind to board the alien spacecraft. Marshall Applewhite's legacy is a testament to the power of belief in the digital age. He was a master of a new kind of prophecy, a quiet and gentle leader who guided his followers to a tragic end, not with fear, but with the promise of a cosmic, otherworldly escape. The intersection of New Age spirituality and
Sorry, I was trying not to choke there. Is he really a twisted cult leader? That motherfucker sounded like he was a schizophrenic. He sounded like a paranoid schizophrenic. And all his followers probably had that shit too. Just saying. They peacefully and willingly went and did that shit. All just killed themselves.
doomsday beliefs created a high-risk group in 1980s Japan, led by a charismatic, partially blind yoga instructor named Shizuo Matsumoto, who renamed himself Shoko Asahara. His group, Om Shinrikyo, or Supreme Truth, blended elements of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christian prophecies. Asahara attracted a large and dedicated following, including highly intelligent scientists and engineers from Japan's top universities. Asahara preached that a major global event, which he called Armageddon, was imminent and that only members of his group would survive. He believed his perceived enemies were plotting against him, and he ordered his followers to develop highly toxic chemical substances. Using their scientific expertise, his followers successfully produced the nerve agent sarin, a highly lethal chemical substance. The group began testing the substance in smaller incidents, preparing for a much larger act of public harm. On the morning of March 20th, 1995, OM members boarded several crowded subway lines in Tokyo. They placed plastic bags filled with liquid sarin on the floor and released the contents before exiting the trains. The colorless, odorless substance spread silently through the subway cars and stations, causing chaos and panic. The incident resulted in the passing of 13 people and affected over 5,000, paralyzing one of the world's busiest cities and shattering Japan's reputation for public safety. The aftermath was a massive nationwide search and a series of official actions at OM compounds across the country. Asahara was found hiding in a secret chamber within his own headquarters and was taken to custody along with his top lieutenants. Shoko Asahara's sentence was carried out in 2018. His legacy is that of a doomsday prophet who provided his followers with highly lethal chemical agents, proving that the threat of a destructive group can extend far beyond its own members, turning into an act of large-scale, indiscriminate public violence. Not all cults are hidden away in remote.
He said that his sentence was complete in 2018. They let a doomsday cultist out? Am I not the only one that thinks that's fucking crazy? Shit, I guess.
Compounds. Some operate in plain sight, disguised as legitimate businesses. Keith Raniere was the co-founder of NXIVM, a multi-level marketing company that offered executive success programs. On the surface, NXIVM was a professional development organization that promised to unlock human potential. It attracted thousands of people, including wealthy socialites and Hollywood actors, who paid vast sums for its expensive workshops and seminars. Within the company, Raniere operated a secret, all-female master-slave society called DOS. Female members were lured in with promises of empowerment, but were then blackmailed into becoming slaves to higher-ranking masters. As a disturbing initiation ritual, Female members were required to be held down while a cauterizing pen was used to brand Rainier's initials into their skin.
Oh, what the
The
fuck?
ceremonies were filmed to be used as further blackmail material. The cult's dark secrets were exposed in 2017 after several former members went to the media and the FBI. Their stories revealed a sinister world of psychological abuse, financial exploitation, and forced labor hidden behind a corporate facade. The revelations led to a massive federal investigation. Rainier fled to Mexico but was arrested by Mexican authorities in 2018 and extradited to the United States to face charges. Several of his high-ranking followers were also arrested. Rainier was found guilty on multiple charges, including racketeering and conspiracy related to his secret society. In 2020, he was sentenced to 120 years in prison, a term meant to ensure he would never be released. His story serves as a chilling example of the modern corporate cult. His story serves as a haunting example of the modern corporate cult. He used the language of self-help and empowerment to manipulate followers and create a hidden society built on control and deception, proving that the most dangerous cults can hide in plain sight, disguised as a path to success. The line between an established...
Alright guys, real quick, I gotta go piss. And I'm gonna go grab an energy drink while I'm at it.
Religion and a destructive cult can be a blurry one, as exemplified by Warren Jeffs. He was the prophet of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or FLDS, a polygamous sect. Jeffs ruled over his isolated communities in Utah, Arizona, and later Texas, with absolute authority which he claimed came directly from God. He controlled every aspect of his followers' lives, from what they wore to who they could marry. Jeff's leadership was marked by extreme psychological control and manipulation. He taught that a man's status was tied to the number of wives he had, a doctrine he used to justify his own actions. He engaged in so-called spiritual marriages with numerous followers, including some who were very young, and would reassign families of those who fell out of favor, using them as tools of control and punishment. Jeff's crimes were uncovered after several former members came forward to authorities. The investigation led to a major raid on the Yearning for Zion Ranch in Texas in 2008, resulting in hundreds of children being placed in state care. Jeffs went on the run and was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list before being captured during a routine traffic stop. His arrest and trial revealed decades of secretive control and manipulation within the community. In 2011, Warren Jeffs was convicted of crimes against 2 young members of his community and sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years. Even from behind bars, he continues to exert influence over his followers. Jeff's story illustrates the dangers of absolute power within secretive religious communities, showing how a leader can twist doctrine to manipulate and control others. It serves as a stark reminder that unchecked authority, claimed in the name of God, can have devastating consequences. In the late 1980s, a dark and brutal new cult emerged in Mexico, operating at the intersection of organized crime and occult practices. It was led by Adolfo Constanzo, a charismatic former model who became a powerful narco-sorcerer. Constanzo practiced a corrupted form of the Afro-Caribbean religion Palo Mayom. He convinced his followers, who included powerful drug traders and high society figures, that his rituals could offer them protection and make them invincible. The centerpiece of his practice was the Nganga, a ritual cauldron filled with symbolic items, animal remains, and other ritual objects. He claimed that performing these ceremonies would grant his followers even greater power and protection. His cult, which the media dubbed the Narco-Satanists, escalated its criminal activity, abducting rival traffickers and civilians to use in their rituals. Victims were subjected to horrific treatment at a remote ranch called Rancho Santa Elena. The cult's collapse began with the disappearance of American college student Mark Kilroy during spring break. His case drew massive international attention, putting pressure on Mexican authorities. The investigation eventually led them to the ranch, where they uncovered evidence of the cult's crimes, including the ritual cauldron and multiple graves, one belonging to Kilroy. Police tracked Constanzo and the remaining followers to a luxury apartment in Mexico City. Cornered and with no way out, Constanzo ordered his own death and that of his second-in-command. His story stands as how spiritual manipulation and criminal ambition can combine, showing that the pursuit of power can lead to the most horrifying outcomes. The impact of a group leader can be measured not by the number of followers, but by the sheer, intimate control inflicted upon a few. Roch Mose Thériault was a charismatic but deeply troubled leader in rural Canada during the 1980s. Thériault established a remote and self-sufficient commune known as the Anthill Kids. He preached a doomsday prophecy, claiming he was a divine figure chosen to lead his followers through a coming global event and its aftermath. His rule was defined by extreme control and harmful acts. He subjected his followers, which included several partners and over 20 children, to bizarre and painful punishments, often influenced by his heavy consumption of alcohol. Claiming to be a healer with divine knowledge, he would perform crude, agonizing procedures on his followers with unsterilized household tools. On one occasion, he performed a severe abdominal procedure on a follower to address what he claimed was a stomach ailment. The group's most heinous acts were reserved for those who questioned his authority. He would use a heating tool to punish followers, and in one infamous incident, he removed the arm of one of his partners as a form of discipline. The group's isolation finally ended when one of the female members escaped and went to the authorities. Her testimony, which detailed the years of unimaginable hardship and severe mistreatment, launched a full-scale official investigation. Thériault was taken into custody and convicted for the loss of life and various counts of assault, which resulted in a life sentence. He showed little remorse for his actions, maintaining his divine status even during his trial. Roch Thériault passed away in 2011 after an altercation with a fellow inmate. His legacy is one of intimate, small-scale tyranny, a chilling reminder that the most severe harm can be found not in a massive movement, but within a tiny, isolated world ruled by a single, depraved individual.
Bro, they're all
Wealth,
like
esotericism, and
psychosis,
doomsday
man.
beliefs created a high-risk combination in the form of the Order of the Solar Temple. Founded by Joseph de Mambro and Luc Jarret, it was a secret society that attracted affluent members from across Europe and Canada. The group's ideology was a complex mix of New Age beliefs, environmentalism, and a fascination with the Knights Templar, from whom they claimed direct descent. De Mambro was the organizer, while the charismatic homeopathic Dr. Jarret was the public face and lead recruiter. The group lived in luxury, holding elaborate, secret rituals where they claimed to make contact with ancient spiritual figures. De Mambro used illusions and special effects to convince his followers that he possessed supernatural abilities. As internal dissent grew and De Mambro's authority was questioned, his prophecies became darker. He preached that the group needed to perform a transit to a new spiritual plane on the star, Sirius, to escape the perceived hypocrisy and oppression of the world. This transit was in reality a series of ritualized large-scale losses of life. In October 1994, the remains of 53 members were discovered in burnt-out chalets and homes in both Switzerland and Quebec. The aftermath revealed a scene of severe violence. Many of the individuals had been sedated before their lives were ended and the fires were set. Among those who passed away was a 3-month-old infant, whom De Mambro had labeled a negative spiritual figure. Both De Mambro and Jarret were found among the deceased, having died by their own hands after organizing the events. Further ritualized passings connected to the group would continue for several more years. The Order of the Solar Temple serves as a dark warning about the dangers of elitist esoteric groups. It shows how belief in spiritual superiority, when combined with paranoia, can lead its followers to a final, devastating act of self-destruction. Bhagwan, later known as Osho, was an Indian mystic and spiritual guru who built a massive international following. His teachings combined Eastern mysticism and dynamic meditation, along with a philosophy that embraced human expression. His center in Pune, India, became a major destination for Western seekers in the 1970s. However, facing pressure from Indian authorities, he and his followers decided to build a new, utopian city in the United States. In 1981, the group purchased a massive ranch in rural Oregon and began building a city called Rajneeshpuram.
You know it's bad when your government is like, look, y'all got some freaky ass shit going on over here. I need you to take that shit somewhere else.
This led to immediate and significant friction with the small, conservative local community and the state government. As the legal and political disputes escalated, the group's actions became more organized and defensive under the direction of Rajneesh's influential second-in-command, Ma Anand Sheela. The group also formed its own security service. In an attempt to seize political control of the county by incapacitating the local population, the group carried out the first and largest biocontamination incident in U.S. history. They deliberately introduced a bacterial agent to the salad bars of 10 local restaurants. The incident caused illness in 751 people.
Right, I'm watching this July 2026 where we literally have parasites all over lettuce and shit that caused you to shit out. Huh. That's a little odd. Sounds like someone can cause that.
With 45 of them requiring hospitalization. The group's goal was to suppress voter turnout in a local election so their own candidates could win. The plan was eventually uncovered by state and federal investigators. The contamination incident and other planned acts, including a plot targeting a U.S. attorney, led to the complete collapse of the commune. Sheila departed the country, and Rajneesh himself was taken into custody while trying to leave and was eventually deported. The story of the Rajneeshis is a powerful example of how a spiritual movement, when faced with outside pressure, can become a paranoid, high-risk political entity. It serves as a warning about the struggle for control that can erupt when a utopian dream conflicts with the real world. Sometimes the impact of a group leader is not in a single act, but in the creation of a failed prophecy that plants the seeds for future events. Victor Houteff was the founder of the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist movement, the precursor to the Branch Davidians, a Bulgarian immigrant and devout Seventh-day Adventist. Houteff came to believe he was a new messenger with a special interpretation of Scripture. He was removed from the main church for his teachings, so he founded his own community near Waco, Texas. His teachings, which he published in a series of pamphlets called The Shepherd's Rod, attracted a small but dedicated following. He taught that his followers were a select group who would be spared in a coming global judgment. Houteff preached that a specific world-altering event would occur on April 22nd, 1959, 4 years after he passed away. This prophecy became the central and most important doctrine for his followers, who awaited the date with absolute certainty. As the prophesied date approached, hundreds of his followers, now led by his widow Florence, sold their homes and belongings and gathered at the Mount Carmel compound. They waited on a hillside, fully expecting to witness a major transformative event. When the day came and went with nothing happening, the group was thrown into disarray. This great disappointment caused the Davidian movement to splinter into various competing factions, each with its own leader claiming to be Houteff's true successor. The aftermath of this schism created a power vacuum. It was into this fractured and disillusioned community that a charismatic young man named Vernon Howell, later David Koresh, would arrive decades later, finding fertile ground for his own teachings. Victor Houteff's legacy is a powerful example of how a failed prophecy can be more impactful than a fulfilled one. His unshakable belief created a community primed for influence indirectly, setting the stage for the well-known standoff with the Branch Davidians years later. In the late 1990s, a high-risk Catholic-inspired group emerged in rural Uganda, led by a charismatic woman named Credonia Morind. She was the driving force behind the movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God. Maureen claimed to be a direct channel for the Virgin Mary, receiving prophecies about a coming global event. Her visions, combined with the leadership of co-founder Joseph Kibwetir, attracted thousands of followers. The group taught that a major global event would occur on December 31, 1999. They enforced a strict code of conduct, demanding that followers sell all their possessions and give the money to the group's leadership. Communication was often forbidden, with members using only sign language. When the year 2000 arrived and the event did not happen, the group's followers grew restless and began demanding the return of their property. Faced with a potential rebellion, the leadership announced a new date, March 17, 2000. On that day, over 500 members were gathered inside their main building in the village of Kanungu. The doors and windows were secured from the outside, and the building was set ablaze. The fire resulted in the passing of everyone inside, in what was initially believed to be a large-scale, self-inflicted event. However, the subsequent investigation revealed a far more deliberate plan, uncovering sites of additional human remains at other group properties. The total loss of life was estimated to be over 700, revealing that the leadership had been targeting dissenters in the weeks leading up to the fire. It was not a self-inflicted incident, but a planned, large-scale loss of life. Credonia and the other leaders were never found and are believed to have departed with the group's funds before the fire. Her legacy is one of profound prophetic betrayal. A leader who, when faced with a failed prophecy, chose to orchestrate the passing of her followers. David Berk, who used the names Moses David and Father David, was the founder of the Children of God, one of the most controversial groups to emerge from the 1960s counterculture. The group started as a Christian youth movement, but its theology grew increasingly radical and isolated. Berk wrote thousands of letters, known as the Mo letters, which became the group's scripture and dictated every single aspect of his followers' lives. The Children of God became known for its recruitment method called flirty fishing. Female members were encouraged to use their appeal as a tool for outreach, attracting new members and donations through developing intimate relationships. Berg's teachings became progressively more disturbing, eventually leading to the institutional mistreatment of young people within the communes. He claimed it was a way to express a form of love, a doctrine that caused generational trauma for those raised inside the group. The group operated globally, with thousands of members living in secretive communes across the world. This isolation, combined with Berg's absolute authority, allowed the harmful practices to continue unchecked for decades, far from the eyes of law enforcement. The consequences of these actions were severe and well documented by former members who managed to escape. One of the most famous cases was that of Ricky Rodriguez, Berg's own heir apparent, who later took his own life after a fatal altercation with one of his former caretakers. After Berg passed away in 1994, the group attempted to reform itself, changing its name to the Family International and publicly disavowing many of his most controversial teachings. However, it continues to face serious accusations to this day. The legacy of Moses David is one of spiritual corruption and the institutionalization of harm. He was a leader who twisted a message of love into a justification for exploitation, leaving behind a trail of broken families and deeply affected lives. In the 1980s, a high-risk black nationalist group emerged from Miami, led by a charismatic man named Hewlin Mitchell Jr. who called himself Yahweh ben Yahweh. He preached a message of black empowerment and separatism, teaching that he was a messianic figure and that black people were the true Israelites. He built a massive and lucrative empire, owning businesses and real estate across the city. His thousands of followers who dressed in white robes and turbans were required to donate all of their possessions to his nation of Yahweh. He demanded absolute obedience and loyalty, enforcing his rules with strict control. Behind the facade of a religious movement, Yahweh secretly ran a group responsible for numerous violent acts. He created an elite inner circle, who were required to commit serious offenses as a sign of their devotion. His followers were ordered to target specific individuals and bring back proof of the deed. They were also used to silence former members who dissented or tried to leave the group. A federal investigation was launched after several former members came forward as witnesses. Their testimony revealed Yahweh's direct role in orchestrating at least 14 losses of life, extortion, and an arson incident that affected an entire neighborhood. In 1991, Yahweh and several of his followers were indicted on federal racketeering charges. He was convicted and sentenced to 18 years in prison, a verdict that effectively dismantled his powerful organization. Yahweh ben Yahweh passed away in 2007, a few years after his release. His legacy is a complex one. A leader who mixed a genuine message of black pride with a secret doctrine of racial animosity and severe symbolic violence. We have explored the chilling stories of charismatic leaders who twisted faith, hope, and ideology into instruments of absolute control and evil. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment with your ideas for future topics. Thanks again for watching.
Good fucking videos, man. We might start watching him. Mix it up a little bit, because mostly I just watch Fern on here. Damn, yeah, he got some good videos. Alright. Alright.